Hello, hello. Welcome, everybody. So, today we are going to talk about um, one of our favorite subjects here. We're talking about two choices: learn to connect with a loved one in the spirit world or move on. And I think we already know which choice we would prefer. So, let's talk about it. Like, is this really possible? Is this a real thing? What's going on? And if this is something you want, like, how can you make that happen? What's really involved? So there's a couple of things I'm going to be talking about today. Let me just show you what we're going to cover, okay? Just so you know you want to stick around. I'm going to talk about these five things a little bit more. Number one, is it really possible for us to act as our own medium? Number two, is it healthy even to continue such a relationship through the veil? Number three, is mediumship development the answer to reuniting through the veil? That answer might surprise you. Number four, can all mediums continue their relationships? And number five, I'm going to give you a theory that, 'cause I've been pondering this for about now going on 4 years, as to why. Why are love after death experiences on the rise? That's my term for it, love after death experiences. So let's get right to it. So we'll talk about it, with you. And we're going to start with the first question. Like, is it really possible for us to be our own medium? How do we do that? How do you be your own medium? Don't you need to have training? Don't you need to go to school for that? Don't you need to practice hours and hours, work with clients? Well, yeah, if you're going to be a professional medium, absolutely. You should get training, you should get ongoing practice. My husband was a natural born medium. He didn't want to go into that fully, but if he did, he would have gotten training year after year. But he didn't want to do that. He wanted to be more of a psychic. But the didn't prevent the spirits from trying to connect with him and trying to come through to clients. That was happening to him all the time. And in fact, he had to kind of fend them off a little bit, because that's what happens when you're a natural medium. But for anybody who wants to learn that, sure, you can go and study. It's required. If you're going to work with the public, you're going to need to get that professional training. But we're not talking about that here, folks. We're not talking about you going out and being a medium, unless that is what you want to do. We're talking about you being your own medium, you acting as your own medium, you communicating with your loved one through the veil. That is absolutely possible. I didn't know it was possible until it started happening to me. And I am a channel, and to some degree, I am a medium, not as strongly as my husband Alan was, but certainly I've had spirit come through when they needed to make their message known to a client that I was working with. So I understand that we're all mediums. We're all able to do this. It's a question of, do we believe? If you believe you can, then you will. If you believe you cannot, then you won't be able to. It's really that simple. But it brings us to the next question, like, is it even healthy to continue a relationship with someone in spirit? A lot of people will tell you that it's not, and really, I think that's because they don't understand, first of all, that it's possible. Second of all, even if they thought it was, it would be like, well, how do you do that? How is it going to be? How are you going to live your life? Is it really going to be fulfilling? Are you going to have real relationship that is really going to, take away your loneliness? What kind of interaction are we talking about here? And what I've experienced in my life and with the people that I work with is that there's a wide range. It really depends on the couple, what I call the interdimensional couple, because the loved one in the spirit world is learning just as we're learning to connect. So the relationships are unique. and they're evolving. I know that my relationship with Alan continues to evolve and deepen in ways that I never thought was possible. So we really are talking about something that is new, that is, in a very real sense, about living on the frontier of consciousness, is what I describe it to be, because very few people have done what some of us are doing, and let alone been talking about it, right? Like coming back to share, hey, this is what's happened for me. And so we are just at the beginning of understanding what is possible. All I can promise you is that if you feel guided to continue and you're getting signs from a loved one in the spirit world, and it can be your partner or spouse, it could be a parent, child, it could be anybody in spirit. But if you're getting signs, and that means, yep, they're in. Why would they be giving you signs if they wanted you to move on? That's why I think it's really funny when mediums tell their clients that their loved one wants them to move on with their life. Well, why are they talking to the medium? Why do they keep coming through every time you have a reading? If really they wanted you to move on, in my opinion, they would start to pull back and only keep saying, I want you to move on. I want you to move on, or they wouldn't give you signs at all. And what my husband has told me from their side is pretty much most of them, unless there's been a soul agreement otherwise, will want to connect, will want to maintain the bonds of love, because love doesn't end after death. And they are more alive now that they are in spirit than when they were in a body, because they no longer have an ego that is getting in their way with limiting beliefs, with fears, with issues. That's pretty much cleared. And while they're not perfect, they're still growing, they're still evolving. Okay, there's no end to that. They are at a higher place. They are able to be more loving, more caring, more understanding. So in that respect, they've changed, and yet they've kept their personality, because otherwise, how would we recognize them? But they are most of the time wanting to continue on some level, depending upon what you and I want, also on what our soul plan is. I would say that if you feel strongly guided to explore a relationship through the veil, whether or not it's going to continue for the rest of your life, because your life is going to go on for years and years, who knows what you have planned. But if you feel guided to explore that, then this is part of your growth. This is going to be a benefit to you. I wouldn't question it. I would lean into that if I'm feeling pulled to that, if that interests me, if that excites me. That's positive emotion is the indication that you are being guided to something. And if you're being guided to something, that means it is going to be for your fulfillment, for your benefit. So why not do that? It cannot be unhealthy to do that. So don't question that. Just just go into that with that understanding. Now, if we want to do that, does that mean mediumship development is the way to go about it? I mean, I have many people in my program, my paid academy program where I mentor and coach people. I've had several people tell me that they indeed went and studied mediumship for a time, and the results were mixed. I think that some of them felt it helped them to some degree, but more often than not, I've heard from people that it wasn't what they expected. It didn't lead to them being able to easily connect with their loved one. And in fact, this brings me to kind of the next the next it's kind of related to the next question. Can all mediums continue relationships? Because you would think if you're a medium and you lost a loved one, especially if it was a partner, that you'd be able to kind of pick up where you left off, right? And you'd be able to communicate with them or even feel them and experience them in a profound way. But that doesn't appear to always be the case. And I say this completely based on anecdotal evidence of what I've seen in other groups, okay, where I've heard mediums say that No, they have to go to another medium to get a reading because they're not able to connect, at least not maybe in the beginning. Maybe that changes over time. I don't know. I know there are some mediums who've written about connecting with their loved one and having their involvement in their life. I don't believe it's as deep and as profound as what I've experienced with Alan. I could be wrong because a lot of people writing books. So don't come back and tell me you're wrong. I've heard of this medium. Great. If that's happening, I would like to hear about it. But I don't know of any medium who's teaching at this point anyway in time how to continue relationship through the veil with a partner or spouse especially, how to, and it's having that experience themselves. To my knowledge, our book that Ellen and I wrote together, Supernatural Love, a true story of life and love after death, available on Amazon. I believe that's the only book that openly discusses and demonstrates how that relationship can continue and what pitfalls happen along the way, what one can expect. So if there is someone else teaching this, which I hope there is, I really do, then by all means, that's great. But to my knowledge right now, I haven't heard of many mediums who are doing this. And it doesn't mean they might not in the future. Who knows? I think that things are changing. I believe that a lot is opening up in this arena. That's why you're going to hear about other people having these experiences. I think that people are feeling more comfortable speaking out. At least they are in my Facebook community. That's how people find us. They come, some of them are saying that they've had contact that was remarkable and they couldn't understand what was going on. Yeah, they felt they were maybe going crazy. Like, what is this? This is like undeniable. And so I believe that we're just on the cusp of seeing an explosion of reports of this, only because for reasons you and I can understand, a lot of people are not comfortable speaking publicly or sharing about it because they feel that they're going to be judged or criticized or not believed. And when this is happening to you, it's so sensitive, it's so close to your heart, it's so amazing that it can be completely devastating to go, let's say, to a medium who tells you the standard medium line that, well, your partner is going to bring you somebody new, when that's the last thing you want to hear. And especially if you yourself are having that contact, if you yourself are experiencing their love, their presence, their messages, signs, all kinds of interaction, that's not what you want to hear. You're going to start not believing your own experience. And so that is where I end up meeting a lot of these people. They kind of hear about our story or they hear about our group or they hear about me and they reach out and they say, oh my God, I really thought I was losing my mind, or I was feeling so hopeless and depressed because I thought I was the only one, until I heard about you or until I found you on YouTube or until I read your book. Okay, so the answer, can all mediums continue their relationships? They could, the potential is there. Now, why they are not, I feel it comes down to two things. One thing can be that's not their sole plan. That they and their partner did not plan to continue through the veil, even if that person's a medium. Okay, that maybe that medium is on another path that isn't about that continuing that relationship. I know my journey was to continue with Alan. He came back and told me that. I didn't know that. And he said, we made a soul agreement. I could still change my mind because an agreement is not a binding contract, because there are no binding contracts, okay? It's just an agreement, a plan. You can always change your plan. You can always change your agreement. But when he told me that we made this agreement to continue our marriage and also to help other people who might want to do the same. That made perfect sense to me because I'd always been on this path of spiritual development, and I always knew I was a healer. I always knew I was meant to be a teacher, but I didn't know what I was going to teach. I thought it was just Reiki, but that wasn't enough for me. I didn't feel completely fulfilled with that. So when Alan said, no, we're going to teach other people how to reach the veil and continue their relationships, it all fell into place. Okay, so that's our soul agreement. And whether or not you're a channel or a medium, it doesn't matter. It matters nothing about that at all. If you feel called to it, if it just is this burning desire you have, as I said earlier, at the very least, it's something on your path to explore. Who knows where it's going to lead you? I can promise you this, though. If you go all in, you're going to grow, you're going to evolve, you're going to heal. Because the only way to connect with our loved ones on the other side is to heal our limiting beliefs and our fears and our issues and become who we fully are, okay, which often people are not doing. They're running beliefs that they've taken on from their parents or society, and they're not being fully present in their life. They're not running all of their energy. They're kind of confused about their purpose or who, if you don't know who you are, then how can you really live your best life? The beautiful thing is our loved ones in spirit have the ability, because of their unconditional love for us, to come through with that love and begin to open us up to the love that created us, to the one love that can heal us. And so not only can you let go of your grief and reunite with them and communicate with them and establish a new connection, a new relationship with them, you can become more of who you are. You will go through a spiritual awakening of the most amazing kind with their support and help. Okay. So I think we've answered that questions. Yeah, mediums can continue relationships, but not all of them made that agreement to. So I'm going to give you my theory about why I believe these love after death experiences seem to be on the rise. Okay, and so let's go into that. Let's unpack that. I came up with that term love after death because that really is what it is. I was reluctant to even use the word death because there is no death. Really, that's an illusion. But if I called it love after love or love after life, you go, well, what does that mean? When I tell you love after death, you know what I mean. You mean, you go, well, she means there's love after somebody dies. When I thought that the love would end, when my contact with them would now be over, and I'd have to wait until I passed over and reunited with them, which you will, we all will, but you don't have to wait for that at all. But the reason that people tell you that you should move on is because they don't understand that. Nobody believes that. Neither do they believe it's necessarily healthy because they think you're obsessing over your loved one. And they just want you to be happy. And also, let's be clear here. The people around us in our life, they're well meaning, they love us for the most part, but they're also not comfortable, most of them, with this idea of continuing a relationship in the afterlife. I mean, for most of them, just the idea of the afterlife probably will send a lot of them running for the hills, right? I mean, you and I know what that is. Those of you who are open to spiritual development, open to mediumship, understand that there are beings, angels, guides, and of course our loved ones on spirit who are with us. You know that some of your friends and family, that they're just not going to get it. They're just not ready, and so they're not going to be comfortable hearing about this. And so I advise a lot of our students and clients to be very discerning about who they confide in and share this with, because in the beginning stages, you don't want to be prey to their negativity, which is what's going to happen. And that's understandable. We have to just let it be, right? That is where they're gonna be at. They're gonna have their doubt. They're gonna be afraid for us. They're gonna worry. Some of them are programmed with a lot of fear. A lot of people think, well, these are demons, you're opening yourself to negativity. I will tell you in the third now going on 37 years of working with the other side, I have experienced some, I would say, wayward entities for sure, but I never felt afraid because I knew that I had the power to dismiss them or let them in. And I had that experience over and over. I knew it was always about my belief system, and that's it. So I have strong boundaries. I suggest you do too. And therefore, nothing's going to happen unless I open up to it. The other side is benevolent, always has been benevolent. Okay. Yes, there's everything in the spirit world in the sense of because people say, well, isn't there negativity? Yeah, on the astral level, absolutely. Absolutely. So be careful if you go out of body, if you astral project, because you're going to encounter a lot of negativity because every thought that ever exists is there. So, yeah, there are demons there, but they're not really real in the sense because every thought that's ever been thought manifests instantly. So, if you think of a demon, you create the demon and it's there. But is it a reality? Because you have to keep putting your attention, your energy into that quote demon to keep it alive because it's just one thought. And those thoughts don't have to be part of your reality unless you match that vibration. It's a vibrational universe that you, through your focusing your thoughts and how you feel, you find a way to connect to that. You go into that reality. There are multiple realities that you could exist in, do exist in, can connect with. Okay. So it's up to you. What do you want to experience? But people don't know that, do they? In our world, people believe they are victims. They don't understand the power that they have. So, my theory about why these experiences are on the rise and will continue to be is because we as a species, believe it or not, in spite of outward appearances to the contrary, we are evolving. More people are awakening every minute of every day. More people are realizing, oh, there's more to life than this physical reality. I don't completely know what there is, but I'm beginning to sense that there is more. And as soon as you start to ponder that, a lot of things can start happening for a person, okay, because the planet is raising its frequency and its vibration. That's why there's so much negativity being revealed because we're living in the time of the choosing, of polarization, where people have to deliberately decide, am I going to live from a place of love, acceptance, forgiveness, or am I going to come from a place of judgment, right? Of criticism, of lack. Okay, there's really only those two choices, like which is it? And that's why I've said earlier, two choices: learn to connect or learn to move on. In the world, this is a world of duality. So we often have only like two choices in this reality. So are we going to choose love or are we going to choose fear? Love is always inclusive. It includes everybody, leaves nobody out. Nobody out. Fear is restrictive, limits, condemns, pushes aside, separates, segregates. That's not what love does. So, because we're living in the time of the ascension and this time of heightened awakening, the other side, from what they've told me directly and through Alan, they're coming through stronger because we're in this profound time of change. And so people don't have to be a professional psychic to connect with their loved one. In fact, it may be even to their detriment if they have studied a lot of psychic development because and I know because I've taught psychic development for 30 some odd years. I was mentoring people literally from the year I opened up. To my astonishment, people would come to me and ask me to teach them. And I'd say, "What are you talking about? I just opened up myself. I don't know anything." But I was a clear channel. And they would ask questions and I would hear the answer. Spirit would talk to me and through me because I had gone through a spiritually transformative experience, which meant a lot of my limiting beliefs were just wiped. I just knew what I knew and was confident because I could feel the resonance and the truth of it. Well, that's happening to a lot of ordinary people right now more and more. And even if you don't have that profound of experience, you can certainly begin to perceive the other side because guess what? Every person is born psychic. The only difference is some of you have been programmed out of it. And while others either were supported in maintaining that understanding or were so profoundly psychic when you came into this world that you couldn't turn it off anyway. Like you couldn't switch it off. It's like you just knew what you knew, you just saw what you saw, and that's it. Okay. So what's happening is ordinary people are sensing things, and I mean ordinary people. I mean people that are born again Christian, do not believe in the afterlife, can be having contact, physical contact. Okay, I've heard of that. Couple of several people. Physical contact. No, they're not crazy. They're very down to earth, grounded, ordinary people. They're having contact and they're going, uh, what? And of course they're going to think they're kind of crazy because they look around at society or even spiritual communities and nobody's talking about this. Nobody's supporting them. Even mediums are telling them, well, your partner's earthbound. And the chances are they're not earthbound. That's actually a rather rare phenomenon that even mediums don't understand. Okay. Most of the time, most of the time, that is not the case. If it is the case, you would know because the experience can be rather intense and kind of negative because most earthbound spirits are very troubled. They're troubled and they've hung on to their ego. So they can be a bit lost. There's always exceptions. So I want to say that about everything, in everything in life, there's always exceptions. We're talking about as a general rule. So that's what's going on. People are opening up more and more of you. I've been at this since 1987. I'm older than most people in my academy, in my group. And Alan was even older. And he doesn't like me saying that, but he was 83 when he died. I'm 15 years younger than him. So we've been at this a long time. We've seen a lot, a lot. I was worked with a physical medium. Physical medium brings through spirit, through formation of ectoplasm. Okay, I worked with a medium, saw that phenomenon. I know that's real. I'll talk about that some other time because it's actually really interesting. It is absolutely real. It doesn't mean that the spirits that are coming through are always of the highest level. That's what I learned. Okay. But do spirits exist? Absolutely. I have I have had my own experience, have evidence of my own. I can't really show it to you because, in a physical mediumship session, it's in the dark and there's maybe a little bit of red light there, but there was phenomena, there are objects that appeared, all that stuff. I've seen so much, some things that would curl your hair. So I know the other side is real. I didn't doubt that when Alan passed. I doubted, like, how are we going to have this relationship through the veil? Like, huh? How does that work? Because I didn't know anybody who was having an ongoing relationship. Sure, I knew people, mediums too, who had contact, had communication, were getting guidance and all that. But I'm talking about feeling my husband like 24/7, feeling him physically, talking to him in my mind. This came later where it was free flowing where it is now, and seeing him clairvoyantly really strongly and all of that. And it keeps getting deeper, stronger. his love, our connection keeps helping me to grow, become more of who I am. Keeps empowering me. It guides me. It is truly mind blowing, and I learn something new almost every day. So I'm going to answer a question somebody just asked here in group because this is a good question. Can you be in a new relationship and still connect with your spouse through the veil? This is how I've had been asked this question before, and this is how I see it. I want you to understand that your loved one is still alive. They just don't have a body. That's the only thing. They don't have a body. That's it. Okay. They pretty much love you unconditionally. If you want to be in another relationship, they would support that. Okay. I'd say 90% of them. I'm only not going to say 100% because I do know of some spirits who are, let's just say, still holding on to a possessive nature. Okay. But for the most part, because they see the broader perspective, they know that this life is so infinitesimal compared to all of the existences that you have lived and will live, that they don't fret about it. They're like, oh, we're going to connect when she crosses over, he crosses over. They're not worried about it. Okay? They're more concerned about you and me because they know that living on your own can be tough. So they could, in fact, bring you somebody, a new partner. Okay? And they do a lot of things you wouldn't believe. They help us in so many ways. And I think it's funny because I think a lot of people tend to credit their angels for making things happen when a good portion of the time, at least maybe Alan's showing me about 60 to 70% of the time, it can be someone in spirit, like a loved one, some family member who's actually behind the scenes trying to help us. Okay. And it doesn't matter because they don't care if they don't get credit. But if you're going to have a new relationship and then you want to connect with a spouse or a partner on the other side, I would suggest you tell your physical partner that's what you're doing, because to me, that's the only thing that's fair. Because as far as I'm concerned, it's like you're having a full on relationship, or can, except they're not in a body, because there can be intimate contact. I'll talk about that another time, but there's mediums who talk about that. Definitely spirit can make intimate contact. They can even become physical. Partners, I'm talking about partners, okay? That all can happen. And that the incidences of that, Alan says, are going to increase because let's just say we can't go into the fifth dimension where they are, but we're rising in our consciousness. So we're getting closer and closer to the threshold, which means that there can be more phenomenon. And there is more phenomenon happening because I'm hearing reports of it. Okay. Firsthand reports of it. And so it begs the question, are you cheating on your partner in a body? Or are you going to have a three-way relationship? There's nothing wrong with having that. Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, I know somebody who's done that, but that person I lost touch with. This was in the early days when I keep hearing from a lot of people and they share their stories with me. So yeah, you can do that, but then let it be an open relationship, and it gives the word, what is that word? Um, polyamory, guys, like help me out. Like I'm not well versed on that. It gives that a new meaning, doesn't it? Like, okay, I can have these three-way, four-way, I don't know, five-way relationships maybe through the veil. So, but my advice to anybody who is concerned about that is follow what you feel guided to do. There's only love in the universe, but I would suggest you can do what you like because free will universe. But I would suggest you be forthcoming. You share what's going on, or yeah, polyamorous is what Maria's saying. So that's it. Just be honest. Be honest. And because really, this is okay. Alan's telling me this is the challenge that if anyone's thinking of this can face. And this is based on my experience. The love they have for us on the other side is so profound because it's unconditional. It's very hard for some person in a body to compete with that. It's almost impossible because whoever's in a body is still carrying their ego around. So they're not free of that. They're not going to be able probably to love us unconditionally. Yes, they can love us deeply, but that's not necessarily unconditional. Unconditional means that they'd love us no matter what. No matter what. There's no condition. There's no requirement at all. They love us just as we are. They'll love us no matter what we do, think, say, how we behave, whatever. Like, it doesn't matter. They will always love us. Even if we moved on and met somebody else, they would still love us, like your loved ones in spirit would do, pretty much, as I just said. They would support us in that. They would want us to be happy. So, there's no right or wrong answer. We're not judging anybody. It's at all because you're here to explore this experience of this 3D life that you've chosen to incarnate into. So maybe that is what you decided that you wanted to experience while you're here in this life, right? So then go for it because there's nothing wrong with that. But I think that we're going to see more of these stories of these love after death experiences coming out as people feel it's safe and they recognize that, wow, other people are having this. Maybe this is a real thing. Maybe this is not so strange. All right, so someone else says, I talk all the time in my mind, but nothing happens. Okay, that's why in our academy, I go really deep with our students and remind them the power of the imagination. So it's not about just being passive and say, okay, I'm talking, that's it. Or I'm sitting here meditating and that's it. Okay. Use your imagination to open the door to the other side. Imagine that your loved one is talking to you. Imagine you hear what they're saying. When I used to teach channeling, I would oftentimes tell my students, just make something up like the first sentence. Pretend you know what in this case, your guide is wanting to tell you, and just write it down. Make it up, and then keep going. Because what happens, I know from experience, what happens is they start to insert what they want to say. Okay. We sometimes have to get the ball rolling in the beginning because trust me, most of you, he's showing me 88% of you have limiting beliefs that this is even possible. So when you don't believe it's possible, you are already setting roadblocks in front of you. You already have on a subconscious or unconscious level a belief that you can't hear them, or this is crazy, or that this is rare, or what have you. So you're just saying, I'm talking to you, and doing it is for many of you not going to be enough. Not going to be enough. Whereas if you take action and you, let's say, imagine you hear them or imagine that you know what they're, because you don't have to hear them literally like a voice talking in your head. You could just understand that you know what they're saying, right? It just kind of comes in as a knowing. Whatever you perceive or see, because you could see symbolically, you could see colors, shapes, faces, whatever, could see a movie open up in your mind, whatever it is you experience, if you trust that that's them and you just claim it, you say, I don't completely understand it, but I'm going to claim that this is communication. That is the way to develop it. Okay. Imagination is your power to manifest and create the outcome that you seek. If you cannot imagine, I don't mean you have to see it clairvoyantly. Okay. Like I said, you can just feel that's happening. You could just have a knowing that's happening. You can experience it in many ways. It doesn't have to be visual, can be very abstract. There are powerful healers and even intuitives that aren't necessarily clairvoyant, believe it or not. And yet they have strong contact with the other side. There are many ways to connect. So don't think it has to do with having clairvoyance that's so obviously clear. Clairvoyance is actually rather subtle. It looks holographic. The other side if you see them, quite often look transparent. I've seen Alan holographically twice, like he was see-through. But more often than not, I see him in my mind's eye, and it always cracks me up because he looks like wearing a costume or something, because he's just trying to show me that I'm not making it up. Because I go, why would I imagine you wearing like mismatched shirt and pants, you know, like the top could be an aloha shirt that's blue, and the bottom, the pants are like this other yellow print that they don't match. It's like, why would I make that up? Logical mind doesn't do that. That's how you know that they're real, because your conscious mind, it doesn't believe in the afterlife. It doesn't believe you could see them. So why would it throw you this image in your mind? No, that's them. Because when they come in close, we start to pick up on them. We start to see them, even if it's very subtle. Even it's like you just get the sense that they're standing there. Or in my case, you see this vision that just makes you laugh, like, you're wearing this really strange outfit. Like, I don't believe this. I've seen him in all these different outfits. It just pop in my mind, and then I know that's him. Okay. So there's many ways it can happen, but these are happening to people. So if you want that, this is my suggestion to you. Surround yourself with people that are having these experiences, or at the very least, go on our YouTube channel and watch all my videos. And there are more coming, by the way, because I have a lot more that we have yet to upload from the, I don't know, year and a half a time that I've been teaching live in my private Facebook group. And those lives were not usually shared on YouTube. So we have a lot of content to come. So just watch that. Okay, watch that. Know that when you lean into this and you watch, okay, trust me, when you watch our videos, you're going to have some interaction, because I've had too many people tell me that they feel the presence of their loved ones when they just watch our videos. I mean, I didn't even believe it myself, folks. I really didn't when Alan told me that would happen. And it wasn't until people would report to me like, "Oh yeah, I watched your video, your live in the Facebook group, or in our private academy." That happens all the time because we're on Zoom for hours, you know, working with people. And they talk about it all the time. Like, they can feel the presence of their loved ones, and they can feel, you know, connection strengthening. So it is real. And you just have to get out of your own way with your limiting belief and just give it a try. So we're committed to teaching on YouTube for free for as long as I can sit here and talk like this. And and really the reason is because nobody's talking about this, to my knowledge, but us. And it's time for people who are ready to let go of their grief and reunite through the veil to be supported to do so, because that would help heal the planet one person at a time, who can make contact with someone they love, who can receive that unconditional love that they probably don't have in their life. I didn't have that until Alan died. He loved me very much. I knew that. But the love he shares with me now, it's off the charts. Okay. It's always present. And no matter what I go through, he brings me back to this place of centeredness in this love and this connection to my soul, because he's on the other side, broadcasting that 24/7. This is the love that has no beginning and has no end. Who wouldn't want that? It's just that people today are so skeptical, cynical. The times we live in has made them that way. We get it. But all we're asking you to do is watch a few videos, invite your loved one in, and give it a try. Okay? That's all we can do, is give you what we know, open the door to the other side. This is what these videos do. Let us know if you experience that. And by the way, if you're new to all this, to our channel, and you want to know, well, how do I do this then? How do I connect? So I'm linking down below to one of our more recent videos at the time that I'm live streaming today about, communication, 9 essential steps to mastering communication through the veil. So check that out. That's a really good one to start with. But we have lots of other videos, lots of other information. Go and watch it. And now he's saying to me, stop scrolling through all the shorts that are only like a minute long, which I know people get addicted to because there's a dopamine rush when you go through those shorts. He says, stop the scrolling, watch something, ask your loved ones in spirit to connect and see what happens. And if you watch it once and you're not sure something happens, watch it again, because every time you do something, you're coming at it from a new place. This process builds incrementally. It's not like you do something once and you got it. This is why we keep repeating certain topics, certain points, because it'll take you a lot of repetition for it to anchor as this true reality that is possible. Okay. Because for every one positive thought you might have about connecting with someone you love through the veil, you have 100 negative limiting thoughts based on your programming. This is why this is not a journey that I could just, teach you in one go, teach you all the principles and you go, I got it. No, 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 no. This is a paradigm shift we're talking about. And it takes practice, it takes persistence, but it's not impossible. It's not at all. It's a journey that if you choose to be on, if you choose to learn to connect, it'll be a journey that you'll be on for the rest of your physical life until you leave this world, because there's no limit. It'll get better and better and better. It takes time. Okay. Your grief, you can pretty much leave behind at some point. I know I have. I don't even know what grief is anymore. I really don't. And I don't live in the past. I live in the present with Alan and have these new experiences like every day, like constantly. So he's more alive now than when he was in a body. So I'm going to close with this one final thought because this is what he wants me to say. My good friend Swati, who is mentioned in our book, she's very much been kind of a guide for me through this journey in the early days. Not so much now because I don't really need her to be, but in the early days she was, because she could see Alan, she could hear him, she sees spirit clearly, she sees the angels, she talks to them. She's a person who has most one foot in the other side a lot of the time, and therefore sometimes has a harder time navigating physical reality, but she's so connected to the spirit world. And she even said to Alan, well, I'm worried about Pam because she's lonely, she's going to be lonely. And he said to her, Swati, Pam was more lonely when I was in a body than she is now, because now I'm always with her and I'm always loving her and I'm always talking to her. What is there to be lonely about? And that's true. That's true. I have never felt more complete or connected. Do I miss him being a body? Absolutely. I wish he was. I won't lie. But if I had to choose what I had before, because the love was there, but it wasn't certainly what it is now. And his ability to be always there, to be helping me. I mean, literally like physically help me. Like once I was on a trip on the Big Island, and I literally was about to trip because I was walking along this rocky path and I could feel myself about ready to fall, like almost face plant on the side. And I felt him pull me up, like, and straighten me up so I didn't fall. And I just took that matter of factly and I said, oh, thanks, honey, because he does stuff like that for me all the time. He could never do that when he was in a body. I was the one helping him. And he's helped me heal certain conditions. And I know that other spirits on the other side help their loved ones heal. I've seen a lot of evidence of that. That's not unusual. I've seen that in the 37 years I've been working in this field. So I know the other side is quite powerful. And I know that our loved ones, when they transition, are much more powerful than they ever were when they're in a body. So I'm not lonely. I miss him physically, yes, but there is so much more that he can give me now that that is a non-issue for me. And it can be for many of you at some point. Is it going to be that way in the very beginning? Unlikely. Possible, but unlikely. But if you stay the course, you'll know what I'm talking about. You'll see more and more of that. You'll feel that more. This is a path of your spiritual development. It's not a path of psychic development. Because if it was about psychic development, then all the mediums should be able to automatically see their loved one, be with them, feel their love, let go of their grief. But the reason most of them can't, and this is just my theory, okay, my opinion, is because you've got to raise your consciousness. You've got to let go of your limiting beliefs, your trauma, your fears, your issues. And many mediums, not all, because I've worked with them for years. I used to run psychic fairs, huge psychic fairs. And I know that a lot of psychics and mediums, they're lovely people, don't get me wrong, but they're flawed. And a lot of them have not worked on themselves spiritually. You can even have a near-death experience and still be in a place where you need to do some heavy work on yourself. That's not unusual. You don't have an NDE and then come back enlightened. Even if you have psychic abilities that you come back with, it doesn't mean now you're on this higher plane of awareness. That has not been my experience in meeting people out there, connecting with them. Okay, so that I feel is the other reason why not all mediums, and again, some of them, will be having this. Not all of them are going to be able to connect because you got to raise your frequency. They're at this higher level for you. And I'm talking about having a full connection, not just being able to talk periodically or having them have that interaction. I mean, 24/7 experience and feeling this love that comes in that transforms you, that opens you up, that guides you, that makes you a better person. That is possible. That is what they bring to us. And that's what we're here to share with you. And if whether you're ready for it or not, it's okay. 'Cause not everybody is ready. And maybe you'll be ready later. That's okay. And if you're still figuring this out, then watch our videos and subscribe to our channels and come every Saturday, or at least check out the replay, right? Like come back and look at the live that we did and learn, because you will start shifting yourself. You will. If you keep going and believing and making the effort. It does take some effort. This is not a passive experience at all. We have to meet them halfway. We have to learn to raise our vibration. We have to let go of our fears and insecurities. And if you doubt whether your partner loves you, that's the first thing you probably have to address. Because if you doubt that they love you or you don't love yourself, that creates a bit of a wall, because your belief is keeping your vibration down. And if you're angry at them, you got to deal with that too. We've talked about that in other lives, so go check that out. We pretty much cover a lot of these things. And next week, just to give you a preview, I'm going to talk about three different direct after death communication techniques. I was going to say modality, but they're not really modalities. They're more techniques. And I'm going to talk about them because I have experience in two of them. Though one of them, I kind of have a bit of experience through the practitioner that I'm friends with, but I had decided not to experience that technique myself. But the other two I have experienced. So I'm going to share with you my thoughts and my experiences of this, and why I believe these techniques came forth because it's spirit that had brought through these techniques. Okay, it's not the person in a body. They might think they did. At least one of them maybe thinks that he did. But everything originates from the other side, who then gives somebody in a body the idea, and then that person acts on it, and the other side works through that person. This is how life has always unfolded on the earth plane. So we're going to talk about direct spirit communication next week. So be sure to subscribe to our channel, so that you'll get notified. And I will send out a link to that live when we are going to be doing it. And you can always click on that to be notified when the live starts. Okay. Okay. So someone just asked, how do you love yourself when your whole life you were told how bad that is, like how bad you were? That's why I say open up to the love that the other side has for you, because that can transform you. And also understand, um, Rennie, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. I think Rennie, you're in our academy, aren't you? If you're asking me the question, because today we're going to talk about your soul's plan. We're going to help you identify what your plan is. And some people did plan their life before they came in. They planned a life where they might experience what love is not. Okay, that is a theme that some souls decide to incarnate to experience. And we're going to talk about that with our academy members. Maybe we should talk about that in a live in the future. But there's a reason why you are struggling with certain things in your life. And it's because you set certain things up to learn from them. It's not always going to be a bed of roses, obviously, in this life. So there's a reason for that. And once we understand what that reason possibly is, we can start to break through that and move beyond it. Okay. Because there is a reason for a life unfolding the way it's unfolding. There are no accidents in life. It's a orchestration from a higher level. We planned it, and other souls connected with us to agree to play certain roles, and it's all perfect. I know it may not feel perfect a lot of the time, but it is unfolding in divine order. When I say divine order, I don't mean God's plan, your plan, because you are an aspect of the creator. You're the one that set things up, not God, not some outside power. You have the power, only you. Right. So thanks for watching, and watch that other video if you want to learn about spirit communication. All right. See you next week. Take care, everybody. And I hope I answered some of your questions. I know I can't get to everybody. Self love is a big thing, and we do work on that a lot in the academy. We just talked about that in a recent class. That's something that, yeah, a challenge that a lot of people face. But you can get there, and receiving that love from the other side is the path forward, is what I'm hearing my husband say, because you've never felt love like that before. And so let their love heal you and open you up. It can. It, it can. It doesn't matter where you are in your ability to, love yourself. They will help you. So, all right, take care. Bye-bye now.